The Detroit Lions possibly had a steal in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft. With how versatile he can be on defense, I think Brian Branch can be a generational player in the NFL for years to come. On a slider scale similar to Madden, I will rank coverage skills, tackling, pursuit, situational awareness, and versatility, based on point values and weightings. At the end of this video, you will have a comprehensive outlook on the player without having to know everything about the X's and O's, but also having a knowledgeable approach like an NFL scout. This is Sliders. How many of you would know what the star position on the defense actually is? It's not that common, and for example, Brian Branch plays this position for Alabama's defense. Usually you'll see the star safety in the 4-3 base or 4-2-5, which is 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. This kind of safety plays all over the field, not only free and strong safety, but he can play in the box, outside linebacker, edge rusher, and a lot of the times you'll see him lined up in the nickel position. For Brian Branch being 6 foot 194 pounds, he plays a lot bigger than what you actually think he is, and playing the star position gives him more versatility than a lot of these safeties that do come out year after year. For years we talked about Jordan Battle being possibly the top safety coming out in the draft, and Brian Branch last year in 2022 took that mantle himself by recording 90 total tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 7 passes defended. Even though those numbers may not scream generational player, by watching the film you really see how much of an impact he made for his team. For an Alabama team that was lacking last year, he was one of the brightest stars in the sky for their whole defense and for their team in general. So enough talking, let's get right into the film. The 3 games that I reviewed were against Cincinnati, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. This is one of the first players that actually scored really high on our scale, so let's sit back, watch the film, come up with your own opinions about the player, and let's try to understand why a lot of teams missed out on a diamond in the rough. Now, obviously, the first category up for any safety, cornerback, or defensive back is going to be coverage skills. So let's get into that. And this is one of the highest categories that he scored in. We were absolutely impressed by how versatile and how dominant he is in the coverage game. And for playing so many different positions, like we explained with the star safety position and what it entails, we gave him a 23 out of 25 possible points here. Absolutely incredible. Always on the hip side of every single receiver, running back, and tight end that he covers. I can't wait to break down the film with you guys so you can see how dominant that he is in the coverage game. The only thing that he lacks every once in a while is using his hands more. I mean, sometimes he uses more than other times, but I think it's probably just his lacking in size. But I think as he watches, some of the top safeties, it kind of reminds you of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Not to compare him to a player in Alabama that was great and is a great NFL player, but this is what this kind of reminds me of. So let's dive into the film so you guys can see exactly what I saw. All right, so this is the first play up. You see he's on the top of the screen right there in the slot. Covers his guy the whole time. Guy tried to put the shimmy on. He even ran into one of the Cincinnati teammates. He ran into number 21 on this play, as you see, and he still didn't get out of position, put his hand in to swipe the ball down. He wasn't trying to do anything that was crazy. This is great because he kept his eye on the ball the whole time and knowing that, what he had to do was just knock the ball straight out of his hands and prevent this guy from even completing the catch. This is what you want to see out of every single player that's a defensive back. Don't try to go for the big stuff. If you can kind of save your team from having the other team to convert a first down, just get your hand in there. You showed some quickness there, great hip movement, eyes always down on the ball itself to see exactly where it's going, and number 7 had a tough time here trying to hold on to that ball when Brian Branch is there just kind of punch it out. All right, so this next one is the epitome of what you're going to get from Brian Branch as far as athleticism. As you see right there at the bottom of the screen, you had a guy that's moving in motion here, and he's right there playing kind of like that middle linebacker box safety position, and bam, puts his hand up for the pass, gets it completely knocked down. This receiver didn't have a chance to make a play at all. And there's not enough to be said. Everything is self-explanatory on this. Able to extend the body. Another, keep your eye on the play. make sure you can locate the ball and make sure that you can make a good pass by using every inch of your athletic ability and making sure that the ball was going to go out of bounds. You know, maybe being tipped up in the air, maybe that receiver could have came back down and probably caught it before it hit the ground, but he made sure that thing was going out of bounds and that there was no way for this team to convert this pass. I love Will Rogers as a quarterback down there in Mississippi State, but this was one of those questionable passes that you kind of scratch your head, but you got to give it up to Brian Branch for making an athletic play and allowing this not to, you know, be better than it actually was as far as the pass was concerned. All right, so this last play you can kind of put in that situational awareness kind of category, but as you see on the screen right there on the graphic, it's 4th and 16, and just for context, this was the fourth quarter while they're up 30-24 against Ole Miss with about 50 seconds to go, and this is what happens. As you see, Brian Branch is right there in the slot position again, and kind of the nickel, more of the inside nickel there, and bam, comes in, makes an athletic play again on Jonathan Mingo, and totally puts this game completely out of reach. Stifling any chance of a comeback. What an accentual play, staying on his hip pocket and not causing his team a penalty, but keeping that hand on him, make sure that he wasn't going to get, anywhere near this ball. And again, you see that hand like a magnet trying to find the ball, not trying to get you an interception, put this game out of reach, not trying to do anything too big for your team to cost you the game. Because I think sometimes people, especially defensive backs, they want to look for that next big play, that pick six, that interception to steal the game. And bam, all you need to do is just literally pat the ball down, stay on the hip pocket of your receiver, and put this game out of reach. This is exactly what Brian Branch is going to give you on Sundays as well. I'm super excited to see this kid play for Detroit. So tackling is super important for his safety. He's supposed to be kind of like your extra linebacker in there. For the position that Brian Branch plays, you know how important that is. Now with Brian Branch, there's like this mystique around that he's like this big hitter, which he is in his own right. But I think more so for him, you had to describe him as a safety blanket kind of tackler. We gave him a 23 out of 25 as well on our rating scale, out of 25 possible percentage points, which is the two highest that we just went through was coverage and tackling. And, we can't scoff at his ability to tackle. I think with the combination of his pursuit, which we're going to get with his play recognition, situational awareness, and just knowing that play must be made, it might not be the prettiest thing, but when you talk about form tackling, this is the guy that you can put in a dictionary next to that. He's great at it. One of the best in the class as well, even outside of some linebackers. So just digging in the film and get a feel for kind of his tackling ability as well. All right, so this first tackle may not wow you, but like I had said before, the form tackling that you're going to get from Brian Branch is what makes him really, really good. As you see, elbows tight, gets the wrap, and steps in position to, put his body on the line to make the tackle. I mean, he's willing to search out the guy and put his body right into the tackle. And I think that's one thing that's very underrated about him. This was a pretty big hit by all accounts, but like I had said, a lot of people said he's like a big hidden safety. I mean, for the most part, he's a very safe tackler, and his thing is to wrap up, get your guy on the ground, and have him run straight into a brick wall, knowing that this guy's not going to get any more yardage. Like, what did he get there? Like maybe a quarter of a yard by the time he got to, Brian Branch. So this is stuff that you like out of Brian Branch, being able to read right here after playing so far back, seek out the running back, and make a good form tackle to stop the momentum. All right, so this next play up is kind of a blitz package play for him around the outside, fitting right through and getting this sack on Will Rogers. But again, what's so impressive about it is, to me, this is one of those tackles that's like, I don't want to hurt the other guy, but I'm going to make sure that I get the tackle, and I make sure that it's forceful enough for people to feel exactly the tools of the trade that I do have. So let's go ahead and play this. The right tackle had a tough time getting to him just because of his speed, but look at the tackle itself. Tackling one-on-one. Wrap up, get the guy down. It doesn't have to be anything special. So this is the type of guy that's, you know, honestly gonna save people from having to worry about their quarterback being put in the hospital. But this is the things that they teach, like literally in Pee Wee. And you know, you see this consistently from Brian Branch, just like the last play, being able to shed that block on the right tackle, get on the outside. Running back didn't read it, and it just gave him a clear spot to come in with the burst, with the pursuit, to know that I need to wrap this guy up. And Will Rogers is not the guy that's going to break tackles all the time, but he's athletic enough to step up and make you miss. But this is another great tackle by him. Safe, get him on the ground, get the tackle for loss, move on to the next play. This next play is just strictly for consistency purposes and his form tackling, and somebody like Judkins, who's a pretty powerful bag for Ole Miss. Watch the toss here, and Brian Branch is there to meet him right there, you know, on the outside. So this is not one of those guys that even I think like the Bijan Robinsons of the world are going to want to meet. They're not going to be able to use their power all too much for the guy. And for him to be, 194 pounds, this is a great form tackle from your safety. And I seriously think that he can play a pure safety position just by the way that he tackles. So I know a lot of people love the Cam Chancellor, Brian Dawkins hits, but, you know, again, this guy is going to be looked at as like, okay, we want our game to be safe. This is the epitome of a form tackle every single time. But it's consistent. Consistently, he does this. Consistently, he doesn't miss tackles. Consistently, he puts the guy on the ground and prevents extra yardage. This is what you love out of Brian Branch, man. I can't say enough good things about this. As much as I love Brian Branch, pursuit is the one category that he could work on. Now, he's shown flashes to be super instinctive and there at the point of the attack to bring the ball carrier or wide receiver down or to swat the ball. But sometimes, I hate throwing the word lazy around there because he's not a lazy player, but it's like, you know, as a safety, you would love to see the guy all over the field, especially if they decide to put him out at free safety. He's the last guy out there, and you want to see him get to the ball carrier or wide receiver or quarterback to prevent those touchdowns that do tend to happen because of some safeties just not having that pursuit element. So with that being said, this is actually nothing to scoff at either. 12 percentage points out of 15. Very good pursuer. We're going to show you some good plays, and I'll show you a couple bad plays as well of, you know, of the pursuit and how it could be better, and on some plays where he's just absolutely dominant into. So let's jump into the film. All right, so this is one of those off assignment plays that you'll see, not necessarily his guy, but being an ultimate teammate. Right here at the bottom of your screen, he's waiting for the play to develop. Once it develops, he sees the ball coming out, helps his corner out right there and makes the tackle. This is one of those things where you see how fast his closing speed is actually. And again, with that form tackling that we talked about before, this guy was not going to get more than 5 yards on this play, and he did, and that's what it is. And Brian Branch is really good at this closing speed, this closing pursuit, to be everywhere on the football field. And this is another positive thing of what you love about Brian Branch. All right, so we're going to see a little bit of that versatility that we're talking about where Brian Branch looks like he's playing outside linebacker here, or more like a nickel position, kind of hybrid. That's what that star safety position allows you to do. But, you know, let's go ahead and start to play. And what happens here is, looks like the inside leverage of the wide receiver. He was going inside, obviously, to catch this pass as he was targeted. But one of the things that you do like here is that he comes up and help his teammate out again. Got away kind of from that form tackling, which you would just still love to see consistently out of him. But ball came out, and he was able to read this. Situational awareness gives him that. Comes down, makes a play on the ball. And instead of this being a completion, this is an incompletion by all regards. So another great play out of Brian Branch. Now let's get into the not so great. We're not going to do that a lot on this film because he's just so good at a lot of different things, but we have to break it down here. Just watch he's right on the top near the 20, comes off the block there. This run goes right up the field, and I'm not sure, out of every single time he consistently gets into the play, he just did not want to put a hammer on him. Maybe he just trusts his teammates a little bit more. We could get him the benefit of the doubt. Pushing off the block, coming down, and this is one of those off things where it's like, you're so good at pursuit all the time. After pushing off, why don't you just pursue the running back and just make sure that this guy gets down? Ole Miss's running backs are nothing to scoff at either. So, taking this ball right up the middle and, getting an unnecessary 2 yards there when he could have laid the boom on this guy, or either, came and tried to punch the ball out. There's, almost 4, 5, 6 Alabama players right there on this play. But where's the pursuit out of Brian Branch here? Again, this is not a consistent thing that you see that he totally makes mistakes on, but he's probably not going to get the chance in the NFL. Let's say if this running back was, Derrick Henry of the world, with the amount of speed that he has, of how big he is, come down and make a play, get a tackle on this running back, and stop this completely from developing. You have the closing speed. Why not use it all the time? Situational awareness, we know how important it is for his safety. He has to know. He's like the quarterback of the defense, right? You have to see everything across the field. And a lot of situations with Alabama, he wasn't asked to do a ton because everybody was so good. But the little things that he did, making adjustments on routes, coming in for short tackles, confusing the running back to run one way versus the other, he does that really well. So when we had to point it out on the scale of things that he does well, we had it at a 17 out of 20. Again, great score for somebody like him that plays all over the field. And I guess to play the position that he does play, you have to have an instinctual brain to make these type of plays and to put your teams in good position on defense. So again, I got 3 good clips for you guys. Let's watch it, and you make the determination of where you feel like he should have landed. So this is a play that I absolutely love out of Brian Branch. As he's blitzing here, what you're going to see is he puts his hand straight up. He knows that he's not going to make it there, or, just when it was an instinctual play, just to make sure that the ball was, the quarterback was distracted from throwing the ball, to that side. I wouldn't say that this was an all-out blitz, but I would say this is more of kind of a zone read on, where the ball was going to go and trying to distract the quarterback. But instinctual, great athletic play, ended up blocking the ball, and for all accounts, this is an incomplete pass from Desmond Ridder. This play is a little different because I think this is an all-out blitz from Brian Branch intended to go to the quarterback, but look what he does. He knows he's not going to make it there, and that running back was probably going to take out his legs. Situationally, he knew that this had to be a sack or either an incomplete pass, but even though the pass was completed and they got a first down, athletic play, able to get his hands up, again trying to distract the quarterback from even seeing a clear window there. This is some Troy Polamalu type stuff right here. And this is probably my favorite play. I don't want to say that he's ever made, but watch the instincts here. So this was a run to the outside. He was obviously getting blocked by the wide receiver, but pushing the wide receiver to one side and forcing the running back to run inside, then making a tackle and almost causing a fumble. So let's go ahead and play the clip here. He takes it, obviously getting blocked. It was going to commit to run inside, ran back inside, helped with the tackle, and looks like he was, going to cause a fumble there with his teammates. Great instinctual play. Reading the quarterback's eyes, or reading the running back's eyes the whole way, making him think that he could, commit to running to the outside. Got a little gutsy there, ran in the inside, and, paid for it with him and his teammates. Excellent play. I know we've talked about a lot of categories, and this was almost laughable why we have to even mention this one when we talk about Brian Branch. But Brian Branch's versatility, the score is a 15 out of 15. I mean, the guy is playing a specialized position that plays so many different areas on the field, and it's damn near trying to find a weakness on what he does throughout this whole film study and everything is very tight. I mean, the only thing that we mention from time to time is his size, his weight, and then we're kind of nitpicking, we're kind of grasping at straws, but the guy for all accounts is a super great player. But as far as versatility, we don't even have to question that. He's lined up in nickel, outside linebacker, edge, short side safety, long side safety, in the box, strong and free. What are we doing there? He's great, man. And so let's just jump into the film. Let's see some of his most versatile plays that I could point out. We saw it through like this whole thing, but let's go and find him in a couple of different positions and just being outstanding. All right, the first versatile play that we're going to watch here, this was a read option play. He didn't get confused by who to read and gets a great tackle in the backfield on Desmond Ridder, while being that close to the line of scrimmage there, as you see him right there on the inside next to the Goodyear sign. Prepares for the throw as well, and once he recognizes that this ball is not going anywhere, comes in, gets the sack, and bam, this is just a great play by Brian Branch. This play, he's playing, still close to the line of scrimmage, right on the on the back side of that edge rusher there, but we see three trips down at the bottom of the screen, and what he's going to read is the inside man and keep up with the speed on this guy. As you know, slot receivers are usually the speediest on the field sometimes, and look, kept up with them by all accounts throughout the whole thing. Wait patiently for his route to develop, stayed on his hip, and then this play was an incomplete pass, more of a kind of a bad pass by Will Rogers there, but I don't really think number 11 even tried all that hard. But it's a lot harder to catch a ball when Brian Branch is right in your vicinity, blocking the way too. So playing off coverage, coming back inside, looking inside the middle of the field where he knew the ball was probably going to be thrown, by looking at his teammates and where they were lined up, and bam, this is an incomplete pass. What another, this is a great play by all accounts as well. Now we're starting to see like some off the press stuff here. Again, right there, playing off in the slot, kind of in a box position. And Zach Evans is going to take the handoff here. And look who's up to make the tackle. Strong tackle, wrap up. Zach Evans was one of the best running backs coming out in this draft class, and he puts him on his butt. Steps up, understands, reads the assignment, situational awareness, pretty good pursuit there, boxing himself up, bending those knees and making the tackle on the guy that can make you miss and can run through you as well. You talk about the versatility of Brian Branch, this is the epitome of it right here. Can cover, can tackle, can pursue, can read your offense like nobody's business. This is everything in a nutshell right here of what you love about Brian Branch. All right, so some of our final thoughts, man. This was a really fun one. Brian Branch was really fun to watch on film. I didn't really have the keenest eye on him throughout the season. I was more of a Jordan Battle guy, and I think a lot of other people were. We thought that he was probably going to be the first safety off the board this year, and he kind of took a dip in production. But Brian Branch stepped up to the plate, and this guy is deserving of all the hype that he got. Lions fans, you guys should be excited. CJ Gardner-Johnson, is going to be there, and he's going to be able to help him in some of the skill sets. And I know some people say that that's kind of like his NFL comparable, but I'm going to give you a high side and I'm going to give you a low side. So looking at the scores again, 23 out of 25 for coverage skills, 23 out of 25 for tackling ability, 12 out of 15 for movement and pursuit, 17 out of 20 for situational awareness, and 15 out of 15 for positional versatility. Now, let's get over to the final score. That gives us a 90 out of 100. My man got an A-. This is the highest grade we've done so far on sliders. One of the positives about Brian Branch is he's an athletic freak. He uses his whole body to make plays in every single down. You have to love that from him. But one thing that he needs help with, and that we didn't show too much on film, but then I have a bunch in my notes, is that he doesn't have a good time disengaging from blocks for whatever reason. So at the next level, you're going to need to do that, because these guys are not going to let up, from the tight ends to even some of the wide receivers as well. NFL comparable, Troy Polamalu like in some ways. That's why I haven't mentioned here. But Budda Baker to me is more of his comparable than CJ Gardner-Johnson. I know a lot of people are like, well, CJ can play the nickel and the safety, but really for the size and the play style, I think it's more Budda Baker like. But thank you everybody for sitting here and watching this week's episode of Sliders. Hopefully we can get more in. Not really sure who's going to be the next slider that I do, or football player that I do, but we are going to continue this thing up until the beginning of the season. Put in the comments who you would like to see next, and do you like Brian Branch? Do you agree with the evaluation? But this has been everybody's favorite couch quarterback, Dante, with this week's Sliders. We'll see you guys next time.